Good morning and or afternoon, depending on where you may be listening from. Welcome to the Nebraska FSA 2025 County Committee Election webinar. My name is Bobby Criswickham, and I'm the Public Affairs and Outreach Coordinator for Nebraska USDA Farm Service Agency, and I'm based here out of the state office in Lincoln, Nebraska. Today, we're going to take a little look at our requirements for Farm Service Agency County Committee election season for nominations for candidacy, as well as talking a little bit about how to also vote in those county committee elections. Our FSA county committees really provide an important structure within FSA for connecting to our local producers, our customers at the county office level. And so we wanted to provide an opportunity to talk a little bit about that in more detail and allow folks the opportunity to learn a little bit more about it in the event that they wanted to become a candidate themselves and or wanted to learn more about voting in the election. Before we get underway talking about some of those details, I wanted to turn it over to our State Executive Director, Hillary Miracle, for a few comments as well. Hillary, I'll let you take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Bobby. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Whether you're here live with us or you're watching the recording later, we are excited that you're interested in possibly serving on your county committee or just learning more about it. We are going to learn about the process. We are going to learn how to be a candidate, what that looks like. But a couple minutes before we do that is just the importance of the county committee. I really want to remind everybody that FSA touches our local communities in our ag producers, our farmers and ranchers in so many ways with our commodity safety net programs, disaster programs, CRP and ag financing. We're putting millions of dollars into the ag economy as we look across the state of Nebraska. We look at our local producers. It is so important. We know that every dollar that goes back into these communities gets spent 4 or 5 times. And so really think of it as a bigger picture than it's our farmers and ranchers and then what they give back to their communities. You know, our county communities, they're made up of local producers. They're elected by local producers, and they give FSA a direct line to the communication of our producers. It is one way that's really important when we look at President Trump's America's Farmers First program. USDA FSA is going to ensure that the needs of farmers and ranchers are being met. And to do this, service on the county committee gives us that direct line to farmers and ranchers. Again, just it's an important piece of the Farmers First vision from our administration. When I think about county committees, I really think about my time on the state committee and how important those county committee determinations were. We so appreciated as state committee members what our county committee members did in terms of time and effort to make sure state committee had the correct information. It helped us at a state level to understand what was going on in each county. And now in this SED role, it gives us a way to know. There's a lot of counties to take care of, and we really want to know what's going on in each and every one. So again, thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for considering running to serve on your county committee. We really appreciate that. We appreciate you. And Bobby, with that, I will let you go ahead and jump back into the content so they can learn what they're here to learn.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Hillary. Appreciate you taking time to be with us today and cover the perspective from your side of things. So we're going to start off with just outlining basically what a county committee is. And as Hillary said, these are elected advisory board members, so farmers and ranchers locally that are elected by local farmers and ranchers in their area. They are there to supervise the local office and provide some guidance and feedback. Conduct outreach to producers in their area, right? They're out in the community talking to their peers, and so these county committee members can relay to them outreach about what types of programs we have available to assist those farming and ranching customers, and also to help provide us some critical feedback on our programs and how we are implementing them at the local level. This really goes back a long time. FSA county committees were actually authorized by Congress in the 1930s. So they've been around to provide that grassroots, assistance with programs for quite some time, and allow us that opportunity to reach back to our customers. There are, some 2,200 FSA offices nationwide, and about 7,700 committee members serving on those county committees in those 2,200 county offices across the nation. In Nebraska, we have 71 county offices, and so therefore would have county committees for each of those FSA county offices. Why are county committees important? Again, Hillary talked about this, right? You are, as a county committee member, you provide us that direct line back to the needs of local farmers and ranchers, helping us understand changes in farm programs and recognize the impacts that some of those changes may have as we are implementing programs at the local level. You provide that outreach directly to your farming and ranching peers. So as a farmer or rancher yourself, and a county committee member, you help us with that direct line of information to and from those that we are serving. We take that information and share it up to the state FSA committee. Those local conditions and program recommendations come to us, and then we have the opportunity at the state office level to share that on to the national level so that they have a better understanding of what's going on at the local level. And then county committees also actually provide a direct role in hiring and kind of overseeing the county executive director in each county office. And the CED, county executive director, or CED, is the person that manages all functions of the county office. So county committees have a pretty important role in directly working with that county executive director as well. When we talk about some of the things that county committees do, they do provide, some information from a policy establishment standpoint. When we talk about establishing reasonable yields for some programs, we need that to be done at the local level. And so those county committees provide some review and oversight for what those yields might be. Might take a look at disaster program applications and review them for reasonableness. You, again, as I said earlier, you provide us that opportunity to provide some outreach to our farmer and rancher customers, because you yourself are a farmer and rancher customer and are out in the community with your peers. And then you also have the opportunity to hear producer appeals. So for some of our programs, there's the opportunity, if a decision doesn't go a producer's way, they may be able to appeal that decision, and you hear that at the county level. And then depending on what you determine, that appeal may come up to the state level for additional consideration. It's a few of the things that county committees do. You also have a role in looking at disaster programming. Here's kind of 3 examples of programs that we may need information from the county committee on. Stock indemnity program is a program that provides some financial assistance to producers who lose livestock due to natural disasters above what they would have for a normal mortality rate. Provides some financial assistance for those lost animals. And in some circumstances, there may be opportunity for the county committee to make a determination on an extreme weather event and whether that can be classified as a natural disaster for that county purposes to implement livestock indemnity program. CRP emergency haying and grazing triggers off the U.S. drought monitor, but it also has a review process at the county committee level to determine whether the implementation of emergency haying and grazing will continue if conditions change once that program triggers. So that's, I believe, a monthly review that the county committee would do on CRP emergency haying and grazing. And then a mention of the Emergency Conservation Program, or ECP, which is a natural disaster program that provides some cost share to producers to rehabilitate their land back to its pre-disaster condition. Generally, when these natural disaster type of events happen, the county committee would take in information about impacts in the county and determine whether they wanted to request implementation of ECP in their county. So, you know, I would say very significant role in looking at disaster programming and discussing how it might impact their county and implementation programs. So that's a little bit about what county committees do. Let's back up and talk a little bit about county committee basics and what that looks like. So most FSA county committees are going to have anywhere from 3 to 11 members. A lot of our counties in Nebraska have 3 when it's a multi-county jurisdiction, which means it's a county office that might serve 2 or 3 counties collectively. You may have more members. You may have more like 5 county members. Each member serves a 3-year term, and you can serve up to 3 3-year terms consecutively, so 9 years total as a county committee member. Members meet regularly, monthly, maybe every 6 weeks. It kind of depends on business needs. We do have appointed advisors as well as members. So, you know, a lot of our focus here is talking about how to run an elected member of a county committee, but we also do have advisors that are appointed annually to represent all types of producers at the county level. So here we mentioned women and minorities, those that might be appointed to serve and represent those that are interested in those types of producers. Members and advisors are compensated for their time and travel. So you're not going to be get rich serving, but you will be compensated, you know, for that time when you are coming to county committee meetings, and also some mileage reimbursement for travel to those. This is just a little bit more of a visual on those 2 categories of county committee members. So the elected members, again, are elected by local farmers and ranchers. Do serve in that elected role as a voting member, 3 to 11 members per county committee, 3-year terms. And then you fill out Form 669A to become a candidate for county committee election. And then on the right, you can see it just talks a little bit about how to become an advisor. Those advisors are appointed by state committee and to represent serve producers when that classification producer isn't elected to a county committee role. These are the advisor roles are non-voting members. Generally, there's 1 advisor per county committee. And again, that's a 1-year term. And instead of submitting an FSA 669 to become an elected member on a ballot, you would instead, as an advisor candidate, submit a letter of request to be considered to be appointed, and that comes to here at the state office to our state FSA. So the baseline qualifications for serving as an elected member on a county committee will be these. You need to be a producer with an interest in farming or ranching operations. So whether you're an owner or an operator or tenant, you have to have some sort of an interest in farming and ranching operations, and participate or cooperate in an FSA program. Be a U.S. citizen, be of legal voting age, meet basic eligibility requirements, which essentially are things like not having been disqualified from an elected office previously, not being dishonorably discharged from military service, those types of basic things. And then importantly, you need to reside in the county or multi-county jurisdiction in which you will be serving. So when we talk about counties or multi-county jurisdictions, They are divided into something we call local administrative areas, or LAAs, for election purposes. So it's basically like a voting precinct. Generally, one LAA is up for election each year, and that's typical in counties where there are 3 county committee members. Again, if you've got a multi-county jurisdiction where you have a couple counties that are served by one county office, you might have anywhere from 5 to 7 members. So you could have 2 county committee members up for election at the same time. If you want to know what local administrative area you are in your county, you can go to this website here, and there is an online tool where you type in your address, your physical address, and it will provide you with what local administrative area you are located in. I just use Seward County here as an example of how that county is divided up. LAH, C3 areas of the county as an example of what it looks like for just a routine 3-member county. Just a little note again about the role of advisor, touched on it a little bit earlier. These are appointed by the FSA State Committee to represent underserved producers that might be located in that county. In a lot of cases in Nebraska, this might be women producers. If we don't have an elected woman producer in the county, we may appoint an advisor to serve that role. We just want to make sure that we're getting diverse viewpoints and representing all interests of all different communities within a county. It is a non-voting position for these appointed county committee members. So again, how are these appointed? As I said, you send a letter of interest to the state FSA committee, and then the county committee, to the county committee, and then that county committee will send that recommendation up to the state committee. There are opportunities in a couple cases for voting advisory positions. It's based on kind of a statistical analysis of producers in a given county. The secretary looks at that report and determines if there's a certain threshold met of certain classifications of producers. And if it's determined that there is, then they would require us to name a voting advisor. In Nebraska, generally, we don't reach the threshold of producers for this type of voting position, but it is something that is considered with each county. And then I also wanted to note, because we do have 4 federally recognized Native American tribes in Nebraska, those tribal governments can also nominate a representative to serve as an advisor on the county committee. And this is something that is unique to the tribal governments. Just wanted to touch on that since we do have those federally recognized tribes here in the state of Nebraska. So here's just a little bit of information then about those specifics, right? So if you are looking to be a candidate for consideration for your county committee, the nomination period is open now and it runs through August 1st. And so that is your timeline for filling out this FSA 669A. I've got an example here on the right. You can nominate yourself. You can also nominate others. We would still follow up with that individual if you were nominating somebody else to ensure they were interested in the position. You can find these forms online, or of course, if you want to talk to your county FSA office, they will have this form available as well for you to fill out. It's not a difficult form. It's only 1 page, and by FSA standards, that's actually pretty simple. So just a few boxes for you to indicate your name and your address and a few other things as optional entries as well. So that kind of completes the overview of the candidate nomination process. Let's talk a little bit about voting. So maybe you're just curious about how to vote in your COC election. Maybe it's something that we haven't done before. Wanted to briefly also touch on that. So once that August 1 deadline for candidate nominations passes, we do some work in-house, of course, to validate those nominations and then develop a ballot. That ballot gets mailed to voters within the local administrative area that is up for election that year. And that voting period runs from November 3rd to December 1st. So you have about a month to complete your ballot and turn it back into your county office. You can vote one vote per county office jurisdiction. When we talk about who can vote in these elections, some of the qualifications are you have to be legal voting age, and if you're not 18, you know, if you are someone who is supervising and basically running your farm, you also may be able to vote. You do have to have an interest in the farm or ranch as either an individual, have your own farm, or you are a partner in a general partnership or a member of a joint venture. You would have the opportunity to vote in your COC election. And then you also have to participate or cooperate in an FSA program. So just be a part of any of our FSA programs. Even if you aren't applying for benefits, if you've worked with our office to supply information about your operation, that would qualify you as cooperating with FSA programs and therefore allow you the opportunity to vote, provided you the other recommendation or the other qualifications. Again, going back to our federally recognized Native American tribes, all tribal members are considered landowners if the land in question is tribally owned or held in trust for the tribe. So if you're a member of a Native American tribe and you want to vote in your COC election locally, you just need to visit with your county FSA office to make sure that you are entered into databases as an individual flagged as eligible to vote. So that's a conversation with your local office to talk about your status as a tribal member and to get you to our records. So that's really the listing of qualifications for voting. So I wanted to back up then and kind of go over the election timeline as a whole. Again, we're in the nomination period right now. It's candidate nomination period. So that started on June 16th and goes through August 1. So if you are someone who's interested in serving on your local county committee, and you are located and reside in the local administrative area that is up for election, you should fill out that FSA 669A, get that into your county office, drop it off or have it postmarked by August 1st. We'll turn around and do our work to get the ballots ready and get those mailed out to eligible voters in the local administrative area where that election is occurring. We'll do that by November 3rd. If you are someone who is interested in voting and you don't get that ballot in the mail, and you know your LA is the one up for election, you know, you can also ask at your county office for a ballot. In any case, you have until December 1 to get those ballots back to your county office, either dropping them off or getting them postmarked by that date. And then once we tally those votes, those new committee members who get the most votes will be announced and then will come on board on June 6th. So just generally, where can you get more information? Obviously, your first stop, I would encourage, would be your local county office. Talk to your county executive director locally as maybe your best resource for more information on your county committee, for an understanding of which local administrative area is up for election that year. this year, and then to pick up a nomination form. There's also a lot of information available at this website, this fsa.usda.gov/elections. Is a good place to go and see a variety of different things, including, you know, the local administrative area locator tool, where you can find out which LAA you live in from a nomination standpoint, from a voting standpoint. There's also the opportunity to read these fact sheets and other information of that website. And there's also spotlight articles on county committee members. And so if you're someone who's considering maybe running for a position and wondering, why would I want to do this? You know, take a look at those articles that are posted there for some inspiration. And in fact, the article that's posted there right now does feature a Nebraska county committee person. Our own Caitlin Roundtree out of Dundee County, Nebraska, volunteered to be spotlighted for this year's COC election. So you can read an article about Caitlin and her service to Dundee County and the producers in that county, and why she has chosen to serve on her county committee and kind of give back to her local community. So I encourage you to take a look at that if you're wondering why you might want to do that. Caitlin provides some good insight into why you want to serve. And with that, brings me to my last slide. You know, if you're thinking about running as a candidate in your local administrative area, that's great. We need good people who are, you know, interested in serving their agricultural community locally. But, you know, if you decide that's maybe not right for you, you know, we also need all our producers, farmers and ranchers in those local administrative areas that are up for election. We need our farmer rancher customers to vote. So please consider filling out that ballot when it comes in the mail to you, turning in your local office by that December timeline, so that your vote can be counted in the elections. So with that, that is the slides that I have for you today. I will open it up and see if anybody that is on has any questions that they would like to ask. At this time, you can type them in the chat and try to get them answered. I don't see any questions coming into the chat. So with that, I want to thank everyone for attending this webinar. If you end up deciding later that you have questions, you know, don't be afraid to contact your county office. You also can always reach out to me here at the state office in Lincoln. And if I don't know the answers, I will get you in touch with someone who does. And in fact, I'm going to close out the meeting for today. Thanks very much to everybody who attended.